Hi, friends. This is Wendy Harrop, and welcome to the Say Yes to Yourself podcast. On the Say Yes to Yourself podcast, you'll hear stories from women just like us who are adding the practice of saying yes in their daily lives in big and small ways, and as a result, are experiencing the truth that everybody wins when you say yes to yourself. Saying yes to yourself is a graceful unfolding, an intentional becoming of the very best version of you. It is my hope that in these conversations, we are able to find our truth and be inspired and empowered to live our very best lives. I'm so excited to go on this journey with you, and I look forward to finding a bit of our own story in each other's. Hello, friend. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm so delighted to have you here. I hope you are easing in to October, to this new season, to all the things that delight and surprise you. It has been a busy weekend at the Phineas Wright House and week as I'm back from France and in the thick of closing out the growing season here on the farm and preparing for fall. It's all just exciting. And there's so much momentum to it. It's one of the things that I've really noticed after living 45 years in California, that fall was more of a decision that we made than something that was actually happening as far as the weather was concerned. But here in Massachusetts, the seasons are real things with real change. And it's been such a beautiful opportunity for me to be mindful of time passing and to be mindful about how I complete and how that completion actually helps in the preparation of what's coming next. So this fall it's marking some really big completions. As you know, if you've been listening, I have formally completed with my marriage, legally completed with my marriage, and that's big. I'm obsessed with the woman that I became in the process and obsessed with what's coming next. I have completed with my very long and lovely relationship with Dahlia Farming. So when I pull those out of the ground next week, that will be the last time I do that I know of. And that feels really good. It feels good to complete on purpose. I am also hosting Friendsgiving in the barn this weekend, and I do believe that will be the last dinner party that is in the barn in its current state. So the renovation of that gorgeous 200-year-old building is in process. We have phase one has just completed, which is very exciting. And the next round of repairs and restoration will take place next year in the summer. But I am preparing and celebrating the space that it is now and doing all the fun things that I love, and also preparing for what's next. Which brings me to what's next for us in this beautiful conversation. Don't worry, I am not completing with the podcast. Never. I can't even imagine. This is my favorite thing of all the fun and fabulous things I do. And it is such a joy to meet these amazing women that are up to amazing things. And today's guest is no exception. I loved this conversation that I had with Anne Robie. I know you are going to love her as well. She is the founder of Darshan Leadership. She is a business consultant and coach, an Enneagram facilitator, and a keynote speaker based in beautiful San Diego County. She is supporting leaders and changemakers forge new pathways to holistic, embodied success. However, Anne doesn't just talk about leadership, she challenges how we think about it. After over 25 years in human resources, Anne left corporate life to help individuals and businesses navigate change, show up with authenticity, and create cultures where people thrive. As a spiritual pragmatist, Anne blends her professional experience with the principles found in yoga, meditation, and mindfulness practice. Her direct yet deeply empathetic style sparks meaningful discussions that go beyond spiritual buzzwords or corporate jargon. You will leave this conversation with more clarity and purpose, and you will think differently about how you work and live, just like I did. I hope you thoroughly enjoy this conversation with Anne Robie. Anne, I've already decided that you're one of my favorite people. Thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited for this conversation.
Oh, I am too. And the feeling is absolutely mutual. I could hardly wait to come see the flowers and experience the French culinary tours. Like, I'm just so excited.
Thank you. It's really fun to live a life of yes.
Yes. Yes,
Right?
for sure. Yeah.
And it's so, I was reflecting on this the other day. I'm going to be interviewed for a friend's podcast later today, actually. And she had some questions that just had me journaling. And I was thinking, my yes didn't cost me my marriage. My marriage was costing me my yes.
Oof.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And it was
Yeah.
costing him his yes too. Like
Sure.
he was not happy,
Yeah.
but my courage set us both free.
Love that.
And I think, thank you. I think there's power in that. And there's like, I'm allowed to say that.
Yes. It's an interesting thing, right? Because you're kind of going along. There's probably nothing outwardly like, oh God, she needs to get out of that thing, right? But it is just this sort of quiet, say slight unease inside, like, is this it? Is this all there is? And I think it's so easy, especially as women, to just sort of like go along and not listen to those quiet whispers that we might have that are really sort of calling us to something more.
It's 100% accurate.
Yeah.
It was death by a thousand paper cuts.
Hmm. Well, kudos to you for taking that leap.
Mm.
Having walked those steps myself, it is unbelievably painful. But I'm also a huge believer in our biggest learnings sometimes come from our most painful experiences. And it's those dips
Totally.
in our world, the things we wouldn't have scripted, the things we certainly didn't ask for, where we can kind of get cracked open more and be open to the possibilities of something we hadn't even dreamt of before.
For sure. And
Yeah.
nothing about the process of sitting in the question, having the courageous conversation, and then navigating the very, very, I think, ridiculously long
Yep.
3-year process of a
Oof.
divorce settlement. I know, right?
Mm.
To not be fighting and to have it be 3 years is weird.
Right.
But none of that was harder than living an unlived life.
That's right. That is absolutely right. And it's sort of that living, a life of just sort of quiet desperation, I think, right?
Yes.
And it's so many of us, it's just it feels easier than quote fighting the tide at times. But I promise you, anybody that's listening,
Right.
if you're feeling that little, and it doesn't mean leave your marriage or leave your job, it just means sit for a moment, pay attention to what's going on inside. Listen, your body, you have this wisdom
Mhm.
inside. It's just that we kind of push it down and suppress it and don't pay enough attention. And so I so applaud you for listening to that, because you would have been fine if you had stuck
Exactly.
around. It was fine, right?
I was fine. I'm Wendy Harrop. I'm fine.
Exactly. Right. But now, I mean, I just love your
Yeah.
whole vibe of like just saying yes to myself all the time and saying yes to the fabulous opportunities that come my way. And I mean, that is just such a mantra to live by. I love it.
Thank you. I think that so often with big decisions like, am I going to stay in my marriage? We get stuck in the how. I'm like, how am I ever going to do that? How am I ever going to afford this house? I don't have a job. I make cookies. I'm, whatever. Like, how am I ever going to do this? And I heard this beautiful, beautiful quote from Amber Lillystrom, who said,
Mm,
the yes unlocks the how. And
mm,
that has totally been my experience. And I see it in, if people are sitting in the question of their marriage, or they're going to start a business, or they're going to move to a new city. They feel like, and I think it's, I mainly speak to women because I just prefer them. Um, I think that we tend to believe that we need to have the next 15 steps already planned out and guaranteed that they're going to work before we take the next step. And that is not how it works. It doesn't even work like that following a recipe to make frittata. Like it
no.
just is, you crack the egg open and okay, like we're already off track.
Here we go. Let's see what happens next. You know, what you're saying reminds me of that scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark, right? Where he has to take the step and believe that the bridge will appear, but until he takes the step, the bridge isn't there, right? And that is so often what happens in our lives. Like, I just gotta believe. And I gotta believe that maybe it is a misstep, the first one, but that's going to lead to something else interesting that I couldn't have imagined, right? And then that will lead to the next thing, and that will lead to the next opportunity. And, you know, as I look back on some of those moments in my life, like it's interesting. I think about when, when I got divorced, and again, not fun, not anything you'd wish on your worst enemy. But it facilitated a series of things that
Mhm.
I wouldn't have known about, right? So a couple sad, like I was living in North Carolina. The divorce happened. I looked around North Carolina. It's a lovely place, but do I really need to be there, right?
Right.
And then moved back to San Francisco, and sadly my dad passed about 2 years after I moved back. But had I been 3,000 miles away in North Carolina,
Right.
I would have missed some really sweet moments of connection. You know, I'd been living away from California for about, I don't know, maybe 20 years or 18 years or something at that point. And so in his last 2 years, I would stop by his place after work and I'd play dominoes with him. Or like there's just this, you
Beautiful.
know, and nobody would have said to me, hey, if you get divorced, you'll get to spend time with your dad before he dies. Like that's just not how it works. But it's because that happened that I then had these sweet moments with my dad. And you know, I had some amazing career opportunities. Again, I couldn't have known, right? But just things that ended up changing the trajectory of my life and finding things that I just absolutely love. And even my own podcast, like my friend Sherry, who lives in North Carolina, like we probably wouldn't have started a podcast together because I just would have been seeing her. But since we were so far apart, we just thought to ourselves, like, hey, this would be a cool way to stay connected. We could start this thing and then we'll have a project to work on together. And so, you know, all of these things in life that you wouldn't know is even a possibility until you just get brave and take that first step. So it's an amazing thing that you're doing. I love it.
It's so good and an amazing thing that you're doing.
Thank you.
I love
Thank you.
it's just this curiosity and
Mm,
discovery and
yeah,
what is today going to bring? And that's
exactly.
so fun. And I mean,
Exactly.
do you interview people on your podcast or is it just you and your friend discussing things?
We talk to folks, and it is often about this thing that I referenced kind of at the beginning that We call it the Perfectly Imperfect Journey. And so we often talk to people about those moments in their lives that felt so terrible and were indeed terrible. But it's just those times when you just think, I'm never going to recover. I'm never going to get over this, that something blooms out of the muck that you couldn't have imagined, right? And so hearing people's stories and getting to bear witness and help people bring their stories out as well has been amazing. And it has taught me that almost everyone has something that they are not yet reaching for, right? There's something that they haven't yet taken that first step, or there had been something before whatever happened to them. And so I just love the opportunity to hear people's stories and understand the fact that, man, even when it is just the absolute worst, there's something on the other side of this. It's amazing.
It's so good. And the reason I asked about if you interview people is
Mm,
because you get just, I love Thursdays. I record podcast. It's like the best kind of speed dating ever because
yeah,
I mean, I have a bio, but
yeah,
please, I mean,
right. It's another interesting thing about what you're doing. What we try to do on our podcast as well is there's this richness of conversation that, I mean, you and I just met, right? But we're able to kind of drop into this richness of conversation. And I mean, it's just another thing I want to encourage your listeners. Like, you can have a really rich conversation with some random person you meet at an airport somewhere, right? Like, that is possible
exactly.
if you open, if you say yes, right? If you welcome the yes in and just sort of approach these sort of circumstances with a bit of a sense of wonder, right? And just curiosity and who's this person? What are they all about? What's this thing, right? And I mean, it's amazing. I went to a networking event last night. I'm new to San Diego. I've lived
Okay.
here about a year and a half, and so I'm still trying to meet people and connect and do all the things. And I'm telling you, in the first like 5 minutes, I'd heard about some guy that's starting a tour company in Baja California. And we had a really cool conversation about that. And somebody else was doing something deep in tech and he used a bunch of words. I have no idea what the hell he was talking about. But we were able to, my whole thing is authentic leadership. And how can we
Mm.
bring out the authenticity of ourselves when the whole world is telling us, oh, like being a little defined box. So I had this great conversation with a founder who was like, well, I kind of have to play the game with the investors. And I was like, maybe,
Do
or
you?
maybe if you let you've gotten to this point by being you. So can you do more of that? Anyway, I probably had 4 or 5 of these kinds of conversations. I mean, in the first 10 minutes, it was really powerful. And I think it's because I kind of went in with a sense of wonder and
Mhm.
curiosity. And who are these humans that are also wanting to connect with other humans on the real planet of our existence? Like, it was super cool.
It
Love it.
is. And I think we have these opportunities all the time.
Yes.
And being present for them, being aware, doing, I guess, even asking these kinds of questions that we're discovering about other people,
Yeah.
asking those of ourselves.
Yeah.
And, what would feel like a yes to me today? How am
Yes.
I saying yes to myself in this season? Like, that's the question I'm going to ask you, but I
Yeah.
get to ask me that all the time as well. And
That's right.
my word or phrase for 2025 is let it be easy.
Mm,
And it's been so fun because this
that's cool.
podcast is the absolute social proof that that is a sustainable model because this
Love
is
it.
the easiest, most fun and fabulous thing of all the
Love it.
fabulous things I do. But what I found is as the year went on, I wasn't grabbing my beautiful little art piece that I made as often or looking at it. And so I've added to my morning practice in my journaling, how can I let this be easy?
Mm,
What would ease look like today in
yes.
this situation, in this, you know, conversation I'm going to have with my lawyer or with the guy who's going to do the tree work?
Yes. Even on the things that aren't on the surface easy, how can I bring a mindset of ease to this? Love
because
it.
I'm the deliberate creator of my experience. I can
100%.
make the call with my lawyer, the drive to school to drop my daughter off, the trip to the grocery store as awful or as fabulous as I decide.
Yeah. So we are in the driver's seat of choice. And even when it feels like we don't have a choice, I think we still, it is just an opportunity to look at things, get really still with ourselves. And even when things feel like there's no other options, there's always some other option, even if that option is just how I think about this thing.
Exactly.
I work a lot with senior leaders and trying to help them figure out how to make their organizations more culturally kind of strong and build organizations where people can feel like, I say on my website, like I feel like work sucks a lot and I don't think it has to suck, right? And so when the leaders lean into their yes, when the leaders are the ones that can also sort of shine the light on work doesn't have to suck, when the leaders are showing up with their passions, their things that they love and are excited about, it invites other people in too. And then it becomes this kind of like virtuous kind of ripple effect where then like, oh, we're showing to our full employee population, like, I can do this too, right? Like this is a possibility because I think so often we're surrounded in places where people are trying to put us in a box or make us smaller. And to the degree that we can have folks helping us and guiding us that are saying, no, actually, you be you. Let that freak flag fly. Whatever that looks like to you, say yes to you. And I just think it's so incredibly important.
Yes, yes, I could not agree more. And this concept of, well, not concept, this truth and practice of putting people in boxes, it's so fascinating
Yeah.
because it's for what I'm learning. And sometimes I'm the last girl to the party, but what I'm experiencing is, even in the home I grew up in, compliance was required
Mm,
because that just made it easier for
right.
everybody. It
Right.
wasn't even, it is my desire to break your spirit as a young girl so that you can
I was
just
thinking
live
that,
your
but
whole life like that. It's just, it would be really easier if I just asked you to do something and you did it. So,
yeah.
can that be how we
Can we
do
just
this,
dispense
please?
with your independence and your
Exactly. Exactly. Earlier this year, I was introduced to, well, I opened a book I had been previously introduced to called On Our Best Behavior: The
Mm,
Seven Deadly Sins and the Price Women Pay to Be Good. And it was unbelievable to read. I mean, it's kind of like if you go to a party and you feel like, am I at my own funeral? Like, these are all the people. They're saying such nice things about me, and I'm present for it. So it's like
wow.
reading your own eulogy or experience of your life, but
Yeah.
through this lens of, mm, it didn't have to be like that. It
Right.
You were just in this the Truman Show and you didn't
Right.
know it, but now
Right.
you can get out. And it's just these pauses. But
Yes.
unless, like you said, working with senior leaders, a wave of change and transformation in an organization very rarely has the required steam if it starts from the bottom. But if
Right.
you are starting from the top and you're implementing this culture of how could this suck less today, then like,
It's a low bar, but
right?
right.
But you empower people.
It's so important. I mean, to your point, I mean, if they're, and I don't care if the organization's a family, right? A family, a
Right.
nonprofit, a major multinational, whatever it is, if leadership is sort of leading from this constricted place, this shut
Mhm.
down place, this just shut up and do it the way I've asked you to do it, the compliance thing, like what you were talking about, you know, here's the deal. Nobody's going to bring their A game. They're going to bring
Mhm.
the safe whatever the safest thing is, I'm just put my head down. I used to work with this guy, and he was talking about somebody in the organization. He's like, oh, when that guy's around, you just put your head down, walk fast, and look worried. And that was his approach because he was like, right? And I'm like, what if you lifted your head up, looked around, saw some things, tried things a little bit differently, and I'll just protect you, right? Because he just felt like, no way. I can't stick my neck out like that. Do you know what that organization was missing by not having the greatness of that guy? Because we didn't let him be him.
Right. And even if that was never, I doubt it was in the handbook. Please
Right?
make sure but it was his perception of someone else's
Right.
expectation based on some
Their
story
behavior, like,
that
yes,
somebody else told in a
right,
whisper. Like it's such
right.
a game of telephone.
And it perpetuates, right? And
Yeah.
it's so pervasive that we kind of put ourselves in boxes or kind of get a here's how you do life manual at some point, and sort of salute and
Right.
do that thing. When really, I think life is exactly as you describe it. It's about how can you say yeah and yes. I love that movie, Yes Man. Right? He was kind of forced to say yes in that movie, but it is such an inspiration from the perspective of what is possible if you just open yourself up to it. And I love that and thinking about that and how that then translates to us in our daily lives. Can I say yes to, you know, if I feel like I don't have any time in my life, can I say yes to getting up 20 minutes earlier so I can go for a walk in the morning or sit and do my journaling or, whatever it is? How can I create this as a yes instead of like a wah wah, poor me, I'm so busy.
Exactly.
Expand the pie, don't contract the pie. Make it, help
Right.
make it bigger. And then it's amazing what comes in when you just honor what is already true inside of you.
Yes. Yes. And yes. Okay.
Yes, yes,
So,
yes.
yes. How are you saying yes to yourself in this season?
I love that question. As I mentioned, I just moved to San Diego about a year and a half ago, and that was a huge yes to me. People that I meet here are like, so why'd you move here? And I just generally point towards the west where the beach
Right.
is. And I kind of just, but that was a huge yes to move a little bit away from family. I mean, they're still in California, but my heart and my soul is really sort of an ocean girl at the end of the day. And so being very close to the ocean is a big yes. But I think the biggest shift is sort of what we were just talking about is this moving away from the expectations that other people have of me and to more embrace who I truly am. I've worked for some great companies. I've had some fabulous experiences in my life and my career, but I was sort of playing somebody else's game. And
Hmm.
I don't even know what the rules were. I was just kind of blindly going along. And so the big yes in my life is putting myself in the places among the people and of the experiences that feed my soul as opposed to the things that fed my ego from a
Mm.
title or a money or a company perspective. I am now more in the soul nourishment business and away from the check the box and make it look pretty on the outside business.
Oh, how life-giving and fabulous.
Ah,
And what gorgeous perspective that you get to bring back into those corporate environments because you do things on a fractional basis, right? So
yes.
you're in multiple different industries
Yes.
and different organizations, but you're once removed and the
Yes.
perspective is it's like the difference between the mom and the grandma. Like
It's so true because it's also
not that you're a grandma. I mean, how grandmas like let the kids eat ice cream for
oh, it's
breakfast,
possible. My
right?
stepson's about to get married. I think it's
Yep.
coming. Um, but I think that the other piece is this gift, not only to myself, but it's to other
Yeah,
people.
for
I was
sure.
just with a client in Texas recently, and I did an offsite with them and helped them sort of think strategically about what's coming down the pike for them and how they want to meet that. But I also was like, okay, we're going to meditate and dream into our future. Let's consider our future selves and put us where we want to be, you personally, and then us as an organization. Where do we want to be?
My favorite thing to do.
so fun. I had them breathing and rolling their shoulders up to their ears and down their back.
Yep.
I think they thought it was a little, and I do. I said, oh, it's a kooky California girl. But it was an access point for them. And
It's a pause. Who
yes,
takes 10, 15, 38 seconds to roll their shoulders?
nobody
And
ever.
then now they think you're amazing. You're like, you don't even remember what I told you to do strategically. You remember that you had to shut your eyes and roll your shoulders.
It's so true, but like they're still, it's, it's a week later, they're still buzzing about it.
Love
And
it.
by the end of our 2 days together, because I had started with the big heart opening exercise and did the hard work, we did the strategy stuff too. I'm not saying we
Yes.
throw all that out, but by the
No.
end, we did this beautiful gratitude exercise for each other. And there were tears, and people were sharing things, and they were thanking each other. And it was such a beautiful thing. And I think so often we're scared of things like tears in the workplace,
Mhm.
right? Or big emotions. And I took a moment to pause, and I would just say, okay, y'all, like this person just had a bit of an emotional reaction, and she's fine. Notice she's fine. But I'm curious, do you now feel closer to her or further from her? And of course,
Mhm.
universally, everybody said closer. But the point is we try, these are the senior leaders of the organization. And so, they probably feel like they have to put on a good face and, say the right things and have all the answers. And then I'm like, it's bullshit.
Yeah.
What people actually connect to is you being authentically you. Now, that doesn't mean you get to vomit all your stuff all over everybody.
Right. Because that's not being authentically you. That's being unhealthy you that needs to see a therapist so that you
At
can
least
be
you want your
authentically
therapist.
you. Yeah.
Exactly. Go be authentic in that way. But you showing up and saying, I actually don't know the answer to that. Or I'm actually a little bit worried, but let me tell you, how I'm thinking through this. So anyway, my point to all of that is the yes in me and the yes to being more authentically messy, beautiful, weird, like all of it, the yes to all of it, I think is actually what's helping me in my business as a speaker and as a
For sure.
consultant and helping other organizations because
Yeah.
they can then connect to it and see that okay, there's a path to I can be myself too. I can help my employees. And it's all this sort of, like I said, this beautiful, virtuous kind of ripple effect.
It's so good. And being quote unquote forced to do that at work, of course, is going to trickle into all of your other
That's
relationships.
right.
And now you're in the driveway before you go into your house, closing your eyes and taking 4 breaths and rolling your shoulders.
That's
And
right.
like,
That's right.
I'm going to transition into this place. There's so much power in the pattern interrupt. What
Mm,
you're providing for these organizations and these groups of leaders to be out of the norm and to do that for a bit of time. You
yes.
said 2 days, so
Yeah.
it's not sustainable just to add 15 minutes of mindfulness to our weekly meeting. We need to be away, we need, and holding space for different emotions, and then holding the space for them to play out. It's like
Yeah.
I'm sure, okay, the lady cried, she didn't cry for 30 minutes.
No.
She like
She was
got
sharing something tender, right? And then people got to
totally
see this tender side of her.
right. And the dude that gets mad or the lady that gets mad, like she didn't rage for 30 minutes.
Yeah,
She
she was
just
having a
like
moment, right?
said the
Like,
F word and it was appropriate. And now we're moving on. Like no
yes,
one's unhinged. Nobody's gonna
that's right.
like, I don't
Nobody's
know.
dying from this
It's
circumstance, right?
okay.
Yes, exactly.
Right. You're
It
not
is
going to get a
okay.
bunch of estrogen on you and not be able to do your job anymore. Like it's just ridiculous.
It's hilarious. Actually, you could use a little more estrogen, pal. But like,
Right? It's true, but it's,
right?
it's having the bravery and the
Mm,
curiosity and the
mm.
permission and the team and the people. Like there are so many ingredients that made that exercise work.
Yes,
And it's
for sure.
everybody has a buy-in.
That's right. And then they may not repeat it exactly in the way that I did it, but the imprint, the essence of it, right? Like I really encourage them, hey, y'all have a tendency to kind of like jump right in and kind of just get to just the facts, ma'am. Can you spend just a few moments of arriving and understanding where people are and give a little bit of space to shift from wherever they were before into this moment?
It's pause, it's presence, it's
Yes,
perspective, it's
100%.
all of these things that, of course, we know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course that works. But putting it into practice,
And at work too, because that's the
exactly.
big I think a lot of people have a little secret undercover or whatever kind of practice that they might do one day a week at their yoga class or something, right? Like,
Right?
but it's this, no, this, you get to be a whole human.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
have to leave half of who you are in the parking lot in the morning. You get to come here and be whole, and we will hold you in your wholeness, whether you're raging or crying or having a joyous moment or any of the above, because we know that you are human, and we're gonna facilitate that and allow it and encourage it. And frankly, let's be honest, I'm not dumb. Companies are doing this out of the generosity of their spirit. They want to make money. It's about the bottom line. Well, the way you get to the bottom line is letting those fabulous, creative, messy, and beautiful people that you have hired come and be their fabulous and creative and messy and beautiful selves. That's
Yep.
how you get the best out of them, not
Yeah.
by trying to put a square peg in a round hole. It's just
Right.
simple at the end of the day.
Right. How are you finding communicating
Mm.
that to these corporations and organizations?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, sometimes I sneak it in a little bit, right? Like I didn't put on any agenda. We're going to be meditating on a future self visualization. That did not
Right.
appear on an agenda, but I wrote strategic planning for the future of our whatever I said, and then I'm like, okay, everybody find your feet on the floor, lift the
Right.
crown of your head towards the sky,
Right.
like gently close your eyes, take 3 deep breaths, right? And I'm like, I'm going to take you through, and people are like, the what? Um, and so I often sneak things in like this. But it's also beautiful. I'm starting to get more calls from organizations that are like, okay, what is this blend of kind of business and mindfulness, right? The book I'm trying to write is called Corporate Woo Woo. And it's
Love
and it's
it.
really the guide to a more mindful organization. That this is what I'm trying to bring in to more companies. And so sometimes I sneak it in. There was one time when literally I walked into a room and it just felt like, ugh, like you could just feel the yuck in the room.
Yeah.
And I turned to the board chair and I'm like, I got a couple minutes of meditation to shift the energy. Like it was a big risk, but that was hitting it more head on, right? Because
Right.
but I knew we had some tough conversations to have and it totally changed the vibe. So often, I do a lot of Enneagram work as well with perfect.
Amazing.
I love it. So fun. And when I'm describing the Enneagram, some people have heard of it, some people haven't. But, at its core, and true Enneagram nerds will hate me for saying it this way, but it's a personality assessment. But what I dig about it is we could stay up at the top. We could stay right up here at the top and people get something out of it and they see themselves. We build a little EQ. They see each other in a better way. Or we can keep digging and we can get
That's
a
right.
little deeper and it gets a little bit more spiritual and a little bit more esoteric. And I find once people sort of take a bite of the Enneagram apple, like I've got them. And they're really curious and they want to do this deep work and they want to get quiet and understand themselves so they can relate better. And it ends up being an empathy building tool. They thought they were just getting some personality assessment, but really it becomes an opportunity for me to connect with you in a more heart to heart kind of way. It's beautiful.
It is so beautiful. My best friend in the whole world is an Enneagram expert, and
Mm,
it is just it's fascinating,
it's
and it's
fascinating.
so beautiful. The women that I have met and the men that I have met that facilitate this beautiful, I don't know what you call it, program, test,
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
it is,
Hmm.
modality
Hmm.
into their work with individuals and
Yeah.
corporations are also the most lovely people.
I mean, it calls you into doing your deepest work. I am very lucky to be part of an organization called the Enneagram and Prison Project. And so I've actually gone
Mm.
into a couple of different prisons with them and worked with men in the prisons as they worked understanding their own types and how they arrived where they are and the things that the choices that they've made, but also just the way that they're built that brought them to their particular circumstance. And I have to tell you, I've stood in front of a lot of boardrooms, but the people doing the most powerful inner work that I've ever seen are the guys in those prisons. And I mean, it almost brings
Gosh.
tears to my eyes because it's just been such a powerful and beautiful experience for me to be a part
Yes.
of.
I have chills. I knew I loved you already, but oh my word, you're
It's
so
amazing.
cool.
It's amazing. And I'm
That
telling you, and
is.
like they are very grateful when we come in. And I haven't done it a ton because in San Diego there isn't a program, unfortunately. But the few times that I have gone, and so far I've only gone to men's prisons, and they're quite grateful that we're there and they say really nice things. But I got to tell you, I come away with so much more an insight and empathy and just truly, um, again, connecting with these humans. It's amazing the things that some of these guys have taught me from that work. It's beautiful.
I mean, and we all just want to be seen,
Yes. Oh my God. Wendy,
right?
one of them, I was sitting next to these two guys, and this wasn't as much of a class. It was more like an intro to this program. And they didn't get the piece of paper that the organizers had. There weren't enough papers on there were more guys and more chairs. So anyway, I noticed they didn't have the little handout. So I'm kind of bossy, so I just went and grabbed one that was just sitting empty on a, and I handed it to the guy and who was sitting next to me and talked him through some of the concepts that were maybe a little bit more confusing. And then afterwards, they had a dog program at this particular prison as well,
Mm.
and I'm a ridiculous dog person, so I was just like petting all the dogs. And this guy sought me out afterwards. And his English wasn't perfect, and so it took him a second, but he basically said, "Thank you for seeing me as human."
My
And
gosh.
I know. And because I'm totally, imperfect. I'm like, oh, well, that's the Enneagram. And he stopped me and he's like, no, thank you for seeing me as human. And I just was like, I mean, again, it's almost bringing tears to my eyes. It was unbelievably powerful. And I'm like, well, there it is. Freaking piece of paper. But like
Right.
he because I paused, I saw he needed something, whatever. Like it doesn't take that, and we're talking about a prison, but extend that out into our world. Like pause and see somebody, and have that curious conversation, like we were talking about
Right.
earlier with the random stranger at the airport or whatever. Like
Yeah.
you never kind of know what beauty is hiding there that could, you could help somebody or they could give you a gift that you couldn't, again, you couldn't even imagine.
That is so beautiful. And I truly believe that that happens when we have made a decision to see ourselves,
Yes.
when we've made a decision to hear ourselves, to
Mm.
feel ourselves. We can not offer that in the beauty and expanse that is available to other people until we do that for us.
I spent a lot of my life being very busy. But the fact is when you're in that mode, that kind of hustle culture, you're not saying yes to you. You're saying yes to
No.
everybody else and everything
Yeah.
else, but you're not bringing all of you. And so your point is so well taken. It starts here with ourselves first before it can ever go anywhere else. So
Oh my
beautiful.
gosh, it's so good. Okay, I could speak to you all day long, every day. I love you so much. I knew
Well,
it
we'll
as
put some time on the
soon.
calendar.
I know. Let's. But please, in the interim, tell everyone where they can find and follow you, how
Yeah.
they can get their hand on the book, listen to the podcast, all those
Yeah.
good things.
I love it. Okay. So I write a bit on LinkedIn. I try to drop different thought pieces at least once a week, trying
Awesome.
sometimes two. So LinkedIn, just look for me, Anne Robie. My website is Darshan Leadership. I can send you the link so it can go in the show
Yep,
notes if
we'll
that's
put it all
helpful.
there. Yep.
Perfect. And our podcast, which is on has been on a tiny bit of a sabbatical because we're saying yes to ourselves right now. I'm
Good.
taking a little bit of a break, but my next call is literally with her. The podcast is called The Perfectly Imperfect Journey, and you can find wherever you find all your normal podcasts. I am also a keynote speaker, and so I'm available to come talk to organizations or come into your business and do some Enneagram or I don't know, whatever is needed. Like I'm around. So
Roll your shoulders and
exactly.
strategize, all the good
Like
stuff.
I've literally, it's funny. I have a gig in a couple weeks, and I'm doing the Enneagram with them, and then I noticed they had yoga on their agenda. I'm like, I'm a yoga teacher too. If you want me to teach your class, I will. So, full service, whatever.
Perfect. Oh my gosh, you're so fun. I cannot wait to play with you again. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I love your podcast. So I really, really appreciate your time and inviting me on.
Anytime, Queen. I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. As always, any links or notes mentioned can be found at phineaswrighthouse.com in the podcast section of our site or in the show notes below. And if you haven't connected with me personally, come find me on Instagram at Phineas Wrighthouse and let me know you listened to this episode. I'd love to get to know you. Thank you for sharing this time with me. I know your days are full, and I'm really grateful that you chose to spend some of your precious time right here. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any of these delightful conversations. I'll see you next week.